Welcome back to the channel, guys. So finally got some decent weather outside. Other than it being a little bit windy, the temperatures are going to be good today. It's supposed to be like in the mid 50s, and right now I think it's close to 50 degrees. So I think it'd be a good day to get the Challenger out, kind of show you guys what this thing's all about, since I did a video on it, but I haven't taken you guys for a ride yet, and I've been promising that for a little while. But I got to get it nice and warm before I take it out and bang on it at all or get into it at all. So I'm going to go ahead and do a cold start for you. I'm going to let it run for a while. Then we'll take it out, we'll drive it, probably have to put some miles on it before we get it up to temp, and then kind of show you what the car's all about and talk about it a little bit. Video on this car, but I didn't drive it. I don't know, I think there was stuff going on. I was trying to figure out things with the car, if I remember correctly, and I have since figured out more about it. So just to kind of recap, this is a 2010 SRT8 Challenger. It was originally born as a 6.1 with a 6-speed manual transmission, and I think the owner, prior to the owner I got it from, he decided he wanted something a little bit more. So he had a 426 Hemi build, put a Whipple on top of it, and did some suspension upgrades, some braking upgrades, little aero upgrades, things like that, because he wanted to be able to take it to the track and run it down the track and run respectable times and then drive it home, you know, with this like air conditioning and all that stuff. So according to the guy I got it from, this thing, when he got it, was like at 1,500 horsepower. I don't know if that's true or not, but it was like pretty insane, I guess. And he had dialed it down, and he'd actually dialed it down for the sale to get it to run on like 93 octane fuel. He had dialed down to about 800 horsepower, according to what he was telling me. If I can get out of here. So yeah, he had dialed it down to about 800 horsepower, and that's how I got it. And so the first time I drove it, I took it out, and I mean, the seller told me, hey, you got to warm this thing up, you got to get temperature into it. And I thought I had temperature into it. I got into it a little bit, and it went into a safe mode. Check engine light comes on. I'm like, what the hell? So I contact the seller, and he's like, man, I'm telling you, you got to get temperature in it. It's got to be up like around 200, 210 degrees before you start getting into it at all. So I have learned to do that, let it warm up real good. I'm actually going to take this thing down the freeway right now for a little ways and then come back a back road, and it should be pretty warm by then, and we should be able to kind of get into it a bit. Another thing that I learned is that this vehicle, it's better to manual shift it. Since it was born a manual, it still reads that it wants to be a manual, and it thinks something's weird about having an automatic, so doing the shifting does help it. The manual shifting of the automatic. On that 800 horsepower tune, you know, it ran good. It was really strong. It felt good, but it felt like towards like the top of the RPM under full throttle, it was kind of missing on me. It wasn't getting all the throttle or all the fuel or what have you. And I know it's in the tune. I just didn't like it. So I bumped it back up to another tune that was in the little tuner that I got with the car. Luckily I do have a tuner, so that's one thing I forgot to mention. So if I do have an issue, a check engine light or whatever, I can reset it. That's easy enough. But I bumped it up to, it was just called a race tune. And according to the seller, it's supposed to be about 1,200 horsepower. I don't know, based on my research and everything like that, and the dyno numbers I saw on the motor alone, I think 1,200 horsepower is probably a little optimistic. I would say realistically, it's probably a little closer to 1,000, maybe a hair over that. And I mean, that's plenty. It's still putting down like, you know, 750, 800 to the tire, and that's more than enough. I don't need any more horsepower than that. Even with that horsepower, I mean, to me, like half, 2/3 throttle is plenty in this vehicle. the way it sits. So I'm good with that. It still has its quirks. I mean, once in a while it will throw a check engine light go into limp mode. Like I said, especially if I get into it and it's kind of cold, that's a problem. Just sometimes it just still doesn't like the transmission, even though I'm manual shifting it, so it'll do that. But for the most part, I think I got it figured out. Last time I drove it, and it's been a while, I did notice still, like at higher RPMs, getting into it hard, I did notice a little bit of like it was cutting out for fuel at around like $5,000 or so. Like I said, I really don't need that. I'm very content with this thing at like half throttle, 2/3 throttle. It's got plenty. You know, I've driven a couple of Hellcats before, never really hard, but I've driven a couple, and this thing is definitely more than a Hellcat. Because it was a 6-speed manual at one point in time, it still has the, I think it's 391 rear gears. So with this 5-speed automatic, it's like right now I'm doing right at 70 miles an hour and attacking like 2,500 RPM. So it's still a little low geared, but it cruises very nicely. It goes very nicely, and it's comfortable. And I mean, believe it or not, we're still barely tapping 200 degrees yet, even after warming it up and driving it. But it's a fun car. It's got a lot of power. When I first got it, it had little 275 tires on the back of it, and they just weren't cutting it. So I've got some 305 Toyo R888Rs, which are really good tires for hooking. Probably not going to be great today because it's still kind of cold. There's still a wind chill factor, but they definitely made a big difference in the way that this thing hooks up and performs. So that's been helpful. 305 was probably a little wide for these rims. I probably should have went with more like a 295, but you know, live and learn. I tried it out, and that's what I got. So anyway, I'm cruising down the freeway right now. Like I said, I'm going to get it up to temperature. I'm going to take an exit up here, and then there's a back road coming back, and I should be able to kind of like do some pulls. I'm not going to be able to do like first gear. Even second gear probably is going to be a little struggle for traction pulls, but I can give you guys a really good idea what this car is all about. It is a beast. I mean, that's like barely any throttling already. We're like 85 from like 65. So it goes. And like I said, it tracks nice. Air conditioning works, heated seats work. Everything works except for the cruise control. That's the only thing I found that doesn't work. So yeah, I'll cut back to us, or to you guys, when we I can get it over there on that back road and maybe get into it a little bit. Okay, I should be able to get into it on this road. I just got to get around this corner here, because when we're getting up, it's a little over 200 degrees. So do a little third gear pull here. That was maybe half throttle, maybe. And I don't even want to say how fast I got up to. So yeah, this thing, it goes. In fact, I'm getting up behind traffic here really quickly. And the heater works good. Turn the heater on, and I actually think I'm going to turn it off because it's getting kind of hot in here. So that was a third gear pull. When I stepped into it that little bit on the freeway, I was kind of like, how come it's not really going? Doesn't feel like it's going very well. Well, I didn't drop a gear down. I did it when the camera was off, dropped down one gear and stepped into it, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what it's all about. So let me get up here just a little bit. I'll see if I can do a second gear pull. I've never had a pull like that. It grabbed in second gear. I've had cars make me nauseous, like from a dead stop launching. I've never had a car make me nauseous at what, like 30 miles an hour. Whoa. I'm gonna need a minute to recover from that one. Okay. Wow, she hooked up very nicely. I am going to need a minute to recover from that one, because I'm feeling it in my stomach just a little bit. It's like, geez. third gear pull from 40. And yeah, I still feel about $5,000. I feel a little bit of a miss. So this car would definitely benefit from some fine tuning. You know, I've got the handheld. I don't feel comfortable going in there and trying to set up different parameters and things like that. It's probably just starving for fuel a little bit above $5,000, and I don't want to screw it up. I don't know of any good tuners around here in this area that I could take it to, and I could say, hey, you know, get this thing dialed in, spend the $500,000 or whatever it would cost to do it. One thing I would say, I do wish this car was still a manual. It would be a lot of fun as a manual. It would not be as fast and probably a little bit more of a challenge to drive, but it would be fun as a manual. And if I were going to keep this car for long periods of time, I would probably spend the money and do the conversion. I got to guess it's going to be around $20,000, and I just don't think I want to spend the money to do that. Now I did talk about, like before, it did run 993. Now, really safely, you need to run at least 102. I just put some 102 in it, actually 104, but with what I had before was probably down around 102 or what have you. But I'm using some stuff called Torco. I've used it before. It's a fuel accelerator, and it's supposed to be able to bump up the octane like 11 points. So I talked to somebody from Torco, and they said, yeah, just fill it with 90, or rather put 10 gallons of 93 in, and then go ahead and put a can of this Torco in, and you should be up, you know, around 103, 104 octane pretty safely. So that's what I'm planning to do. And you know, you guys know me, I probably will get rid of this car. I mean, it's fun, it's super fast, and it is fun to drive and everything like that, but I get bored. You know, I get bored easy and then want to look for something else, and this car's way faster than I need. I'm getting older, I'm getting a little bit more conservative, and this car is definitely faster than I need and will probably end up getting me in trouble if I keep it too long. So with that being said, yeah, that's kind of it. Drop down another gear. Okay, yeah. And bear in mind, guys, I have never hit the floor with this thing. That might have been 2/3 throttle right there. That was probably the most I got into it, and I would say probably about 2/3 throttle. So this thing's fast. It's, I mean, like I said, 1,000 horsepower, and that's, I would say safely 1,000 horsepower. And you know, that puts me in the realm of like Bugattis, the new ZR1, the Demon 170. That's a lot of power for the street. So for me and my level of driving skill, it's good for me. So I'm gonna take this thing back before I do get in trouble, get a speeding ticket or what have you. And you know, as always, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate all the support. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, with that, guys, God bless. Take care. Have an absolutely amazing